In this video, we're going to use Breakdance to create a floating widget call to action that would appear on the bottom or bottom left or right of the screen continually, or perhaps as we scroll down the page. Now, before I jump into how we're going to do this, and it's really easy to build out, I would first like to consider the big question we should ask for anything that we're going to put onto a website, which is why? Why would we want to have a floating widget? I've seen lots of clients who get carried away with being able to install a floating widget plugin on their website, and it might have a big WhatsApp button, but it's something that they don't even tend to. They don't check those WhatsApp messages. They're not available for calls. We have to really consider why we're putting everything on the site. So to sort of justify this, or why I would present this within a project, in my view, a website should always have the primary call to action, such as book, buy, or call. This is what we hope those with commercial intent are going to use when they're on our site. But that's really not so often the case. Most people are not in that state right now, or at that point of viewing the site. They're in the information gathering mode. And so really what we should have is a secondary call to action. And this is some form of audience capture. It's a lead magnet. It's something that we will offer to them so that we can obtain their email, and we'll be able to keep in touch with them and nurture them as a lead. So in my view, this is actually more worthwhile than the primary call to action, which we might often have on a sticky header so that it's always available, or you might see that at intervals as people scroll down the page. Book now, buy now, get a quote now, one of those. And yet the real conversion takes place in the nurture campaigns, so within our email automations and all of those communications. So this is a really important item to have on our page. It shouldn't be too imposing, but it should always be nudging and creating a bit of intrigue. So in my view, while we might always have a sticky header with a primary call to action, it makes sense somewhere down, usually on the bottom right, to have some sort of floating widget constantly saying, hey, why don't you get our free, whatever it is, lead magnet, and be happy with a freebie. So that makes sense to me. Of course, you could switch that around. You have to judge it, see what would work best with your project and what you're offering. Okay, so let's actually get on with it. We're going to work on the site I was using on my previous video. This is just a demo site, one that I test out little ideas on. So most recently, in my most recent video, we created this very visually appealing header. It's very different to a usual band header that would go from left to right on the site. And I think we're going to use the same sort of style for a sticky widget that'll just hang out around here. So there are different components we need for this. Once somebody clicks on this floating widget, it's going to open a pop-up. So we need to create a pop-up with a contact form, and we also need to actually create the floating widget. So let's go along with the widget first of all. So we need to create that in the footer. As you can see, I've got a really basic footer that I've knocked together to do this video. Okay, so let's open up the footer. And as you can see, it's a very, very simple footer, and it consists of one section with a few different columns in it. I have not tended to mobile responsivity at this point. Now, this is tagged as the footer, and so technically we shouldn't really have another section beneath it, but we are going to use that, and we're going to drag a section in, but we're going to be very good, and we're going to change that to a div, just so that it's HTML tag as a div, not a section. And we just need to minimize the padding on all of this one for the time being. So just something along those lines. And now it's just about styling this up a bit. So I'm going to want to bring a div into here that we can style up. Well, first of all, actually, maybe let's just show you the basics of this, because you want to apply your own designs, of course. So we'll just throw in a text element at this point, and then a button. And we're going to create a row on that one, and what should we do? We'll push it to the right. Oh, what am I doing? We'll push it to the right, and I'll hit some other button. Clever. And give that a bit of space. Get your free. Week, well, free 7-day home yoga course. Don't know why I'm typing this in. Home yoga course. Right, that's cool. Yeah, that's fine. And then here, give me my course. Free course. Get free course. I'm actually typing in capitals. It's very naughty of me. Right, so we're going to leave that like that at this point in time. I just want to make sure that we can notice it on the front end. So we're going to give it a shadow. Love a shadow. There we are. Borders. And add a shadow. It's a bit of a gross one. Whoa. Right. That will do the job quite nicely for now. And right, so if I just publish that and we'll go to the front at this point, we can see that this is sort of what we have at this moment. Okay, so we have a get your free 7-day home yoga course. That would be a really appealing call to action for somebody who is kind of interested, but they just want to move into it, and then we've got the button here. But what we want to have is have that be sticky. Okay, all we need to actually do, it's not to make it sticky and to the bottom. We could, I can show you. Yeah, I'm going to show you, because you at first might think, well, we can just use the sticky function, and we should explore that just so that you can see how that works. Position bottom. Okay, and we can do that viewport and refresh. Okay, it's sticky, but it's a feature that's right down the bottom, and the reason why we want it on the footer is because that's a global element. Now, technically, you could place this in the header, and that might actually work like that, but it's not very neat. It's not what we want to do. I'll just show you quickly that if we put it above here, you'll see how this works. So it's the top section of the footer, and when we encounter it, it is there, and then it sticks as we move down. But of course, that doesn't work for us either. It just helps us to understand why that might not work. What we actually would like to do is position this fixed. Okay, so it takes it out of the flow of the page, and we would like it to be 0. Okay, the section is 100% width anyway, so that's fine. And if we click on save and go to the front and refresh this, you can see that it's sticky on the bottom of the viewport, which is absolutely wonderful. Now, you can do this with other elements and fix them. You've just got to be aware that, especially on responsive devices, it really might need some jiggling around. You do have to be aware of padding and things, so think of your use case. So here, for example, is outside of the flow of the page elements, and so it's sort of overlapping the footer there. That's not really very good. So what we need to do is increase the padding. We just want to compensate for that, really, and we just need to increase the padding on the bottom of the footer, of the actual footer section. So we'll just, I was going to say exaggerate it for a moment. Let's just do 8 at the moment. That's cool, and that will really make the point for us. And if we save that, look on the front, we can see that it makes no odds at this point, but when we're down at the footer, we're not overlapping all of the important information. There is, however, this issue here, which is that we need this to be on top of all of the content. So there might be elements in the page that this is going underneath and it doesn't look correct. So if we take the section, and I haven't really labeled these, I should have. So floating widget, and we take that section, select the Z index, or Z if you're American, and I've just given that a value of 999. That should bring it over the top of all of the other elements, and it does. Look at that, that's really cool. Okay, so from here we can actually just tend to design. What I tend to do is something I might have something like an image, so you could place an image. I would like a div to be in here or surrounding these, and I'm not going to fuss too much. I just would like you to see some of the possibilities that you have here. So let's make that 1em and give it a bit of padding. That's fine for the moment, and then we can get ourselves an image. Paste that in, grab something that looks quite nice, just like the yoga teacher, I suppose, or yoga instructor, I should say. 120. Yeah, I think that's cool. Well, aspect ratio 1:1, and cover it, and then let's make it round so that it looks all pretty. So that looks nice, and we could give it a border, of course. Great. Okay. So now, if we give this little div here a color, let's go with the theme that we have, and we're going to round it off a little bit. So let's go to borders, and yeah, that looks nice. Let's do the same with the button as well. So I'm just going to pop along to custom, and you know, obviously you might want to make a preset for your buttons anyway, with this in mind. Very similar to the top button up here. So you'd want to keep that quite consistent. I'm not going to obviously faff with that at the moment. So yeah, you get the idea with this. 3, 3. That's fine. That looks all nice for this point. And we're going to whiten this up a little bit. Again, I don't want to fuss with this too much for your sake, because we still have to make the pop-up. But yeah, it's a bit too color heavy. Right, I'll stick with that at this point. Okay, save that. Oh, first we'll remove the shadow from here. And the background, I would like that to be completely transparent, and see what we've got on the front there. So save and refresh, and look at that. That's really nice. Liking that, and let's just make it a little bit prettier. We need this to be a full width section. Full width. We have a little bit of padding there, so that's great. And then let's just bring down opacity a little bit and give them a little refresh. That's pretty cool. I like that. So this is a really great secondary call to action. So of course what we would want there is for that to be the actual book call to action, so that we've got the primary call to action. So book now. Okay, that works, and we would want that to be a bit more prominent perhaps. So let's give that a sharper color. Okay, so that's a really lovely floating sort of widget there. I'm sorry, my face is in the way. That's what that looks like without my face in the way. Really, really nice. And obviously getting attention, but not being too imposing. Really, really nice little feature. Okay, so now we need to actually have an action for this one. So what we need to do very quickly is pop along to dashboard, breakdance, pop-ups. This is what I would say would be good. Obviously, You can just link it to a page that you've created, which is not a bad idea. But let's create a lead magnet pop-up and apply everywhere. And that will do the job nicely. So let's just put in some content, and I'm just going to steal this really. Yeah. Just paste, 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 paste. Cool. That is fine enough. Obviously, you can style this up as you would like, and that's all we really need. It's just a sign up for a newsletter, so that even this is too much. I would recommend that the form is as simple as possible. So we're going to save that, and this. And you would name the form name and everything. Maybe we should do something on a forms soon as well, and how to integrate that with your mailing list perhaps. So let's now join that up with the actual widget. So let's pop along again to the footer. So general footer. Now I'm going to put in a link here. Now obviously we want it to open up the pop-up, but just in case that action fails, I think it's nice to have a link. So you should have a page set up for the newsletter, and put that URL in here. That would make a lot more sense, just so that you've got a bit of a fail-safe. But after that, you just need to go to the cog here and go to type action, select a type pop-up, and then select our pop-up there. And we just want to open it. That's cool. Okay, I'm going to save that, and let's pop along to the front of the site and refresh. And I'm like, yeah, actually, I would like my free 7-day home yoga course. Click on that. The pop-up pops up, which is great, and we put in the details, and now we've got a new lead. And of course, the main primary call to action is ever present as well. So when I'm looking at this, I'm not seeing that this is too imposing. This looks really nice, and again, it's just providing opportunities for people to either stay in touch or actually book, buy, or call. So you could put this onto the left if you fancy. It's so easy to style all of this up, and we're not using additional plugins. So hopefully you've enjoyed that. It's just a nice little tutorial on something that's quite functional, really helps conversion, and it does kind of look pretty as well. So let me know how you got on with that, and if you've got any other little ideas about it, I'd love to see those in the comments below. Okay, like, subscribe, throw me any comments and or suggestions for tutorials, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.